Hey guys, I am Tim Redstone with Red Dog Bushcraft, back with another look at a knife that I really enjoy using when I'm out practicing my bushcraft skills. Let me show you a knife that I bought specifically for my bushcraft pack kit setup. This is the Genesis by LT Wright Custom Knives. This knife cost $175 off of their website. Not a cheap investment, but I'm going to tell you what, one that I think you'll dearly enjoy. It's 9 inches overall. It has a sharp edge of 4 1/4 inches. It's made out of 1/8 of an inch thick A2 tool steel. It has a high polished Scandinavian finish and bead blasted green micarta scales. Large eye here for being able to put a lanyard through, and fish eye bolts that bolt these scales to the steel, plus some 2-ton epoxy in there, which these scales ain't going anywhere. One of the features of these scales that separates this knife from some of their other designs is this scallop out area here for your thumb to set in, which comes in handy when you're doing these chest lever cuts, or when you're doing some of that fine work that you need that thumb to get up there so that you can press at the top of that spine. It also comes in very handy when you want to place your hand on it like this and you're striking that fire steel loop. Gives you a lot more stability when you ground that hand down and you're pulling that ferrocerium rod back along this nice 90-degree spine. You can see the overall shape of the blade once again has that nice taper coming down here, but it stays flat along the back and then starts to taper off in the front. That high polished Scandinavian grind that came on this knife was just absolutely hair popping sharp. It's a very easy knife to maintain because it does not have a secondary bevel here on the edge. This is taken straight down on a true Scandinavian taper, which goes right down to the point, like I said, with no secondary bevel placed on it. Very easy to maintain by putting that on a stone, simply rotating it to the angle of this bevel, which is about 11 degrees, and rubbing that across the stone, just maintaining that level. With this being an A2, it's a little bit harder steel than the O1s that I've become fond of, but with that comes a great durability. Because of the hardness of it, I do prefer to do my maintenance of this particular edge at home with diamond type hones and sharpeners versus the rock stones that I would use out in the bush. I did, because of this knife, buy a small D4 sharpener that is diamond on one side, ceramic on the other, and even though it's only 4 or 5 inches long, it does a really nice job of maintaining this edge while I'm out in the bush, which I really don't have to do a whole lot to it when I'm practicing bushcraft type skills. Now, I did get a chance to process one deer and a coon and a possum with this knife just to see how it performed doing hunting type tasks. And because I believe of the thickness of the steel and that Scandinavian grind of the taper of that Scandinavian being not so steep but dropping back a little bit, it functioned very well. But where this knife really shines is doing woodcraft type work around camp. The typical type stuff that you would do working wood in a bushcrafting type setup. All around, just great performing knife. Like I said, it's become my primary knife that stays in my bushcraft kit. The sheath itself came as a pretty typical bushcraft type leather sheath. Has a dangler loop that is put on it that I've become quite fond of. I like it hanging down, especially when you're wearing an overshirt or a coat. It drops that knife down. Also gives you some wiggle room when you're sitting down or when you're standing up, so it doesn't bind on your side. Comes in very handy when you're riding in a vehicle. Fire steel loop of nice generous size. big enough to put the full-size Army-size fire steel in there. Nice double stitching with some reinforcement rivets in the nice place in the high stress areas, and there is a nice separation. You've got a nice welt in here. Very well crafted sheath. I have enjoyed this very much, and as you can tell, I have wet formed this sheath to where it really fits my knife well. You can see where the thumb scallops and all have come, where this knife really locks in very nicely. It's almost like a Kydex fit. You can hear it pop when it goes in there, and keeps that retention very well. You'll be surprised at how well that knife stays in that sheath, which is very important when you're out doing those types of tasks. The Scandinavian grind on this particular knife is, I mean, they've hit the blade thickness and the height of this grind, the taper. They've nailed it, because you can really get in here and do some very, very fine work. And when I say very fine work, I'm pulling curls off of this thing that are about anywhere from 2 to 4 hair thicknesses, and the thickness and the width, I mean you can pretty much get it down as small as, well, that might not even show up on camera. But definitely small enough that you can get some very fine work done as far as starting your fires, and as far as when you're finished working on your carving and you want to get some of those knife marks and all out, you can definitely do that. These thumb scallops, like I said, with the 90-degree spine, really lets you get in there and make really, really quick work of the scraping. I think it scrapes bark and wood and fat wood the best of any knife that I own, and I contribute that to being able to get that thumb right down at that point to where the handle material comes down to this 90-degree spine, and where you can really get that pressure up here and really gives you a good bite. But just an all-around fantastic knife. For a $175 investment, you would expect top quality, and that's exactly what you get in this particular knife. This is what I would consider an heirloom type investment, which means that you'll buy this, you'll use it for your entire lifetime, and you'll pass this on to someone that you love and respect. It's one of those knives that if you had to make up your mind, do you get something cheaper or do you save up your money? You know what, I think I'd pull a knife out of the kitchen. Sorry about that, guys. My battery died and I didn't realize it. So let me just wrap up by saying this knife, the Genesis, is one of the best specifically made knives from Bushcraft that I've personally ever used. The quality is some of the finest that I've ever used. The craftsmanship that goes into it. This is truly one of those tools that you'll buy, you'll treasure, and you can pass that on and be a little bit of a legacy that's left behind from your years of Bushcraft use. So, LT, you hit a home run with this one, buddy. I really appreciate it, and I like it a lot. I was awfully glad when I got it and saw the way that it was designed and the way it felt in the hand, and I've just been more impressed with it as time goes by. Well, that'll conclude the talk about the Genesis, and we'll get together on some more knives here real soon. But until then, I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, home of global safety and survival. God bless, guys.